Ignoring rambling about some of the hardware issues, we'll talk about some plant issues with Druidcraft. Does anyone even pick up Druidcraft?
Word on the street is if you talk nicely to your plants, they'll actually grow quicker. I know that fertilizer ain't the only thing getting wet right now.
Transmutation cantrip, casting time of 1 action, range of 30 feet, components verbal somatic, duration instantaneous. Whispering to the spirits of nature, you create one of the following effects within range. Alright, that confirms that nature spirits are a thing. You create a tiny, harmless sensory effect that predicts what the weather will be at your location for the next 24 hours. The effect might manifest as a golden orb for clear skies, a cloud for rain, smalling snowflakes for snow, and so on. The effect persists for 1 round. You instantly make a flower blossom, a seed pod open, or a leaf bud bloom. You create instantaneous, harmless sensory effects such as falling leaves, a puff of wind, the sound of a small animal, or the faint odor of skunk. The effect must fit within a 5-foot cube. You instantly light or snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire. Notice how none of those last that long? So, first, let's talk about the spell this is actually going to be compared to, or other cantrip, Prestidigitation, if I'm saying that right. We haven't gotten to it yet, but, I mean, who hasn't heard of it? Prestige, also an action, relatively instantaneous, very short range, similar to this, but has a few more options, some of the same options, namely in the candle or light snuffing one, but then also you can have 3 effects going at the same time, and then those also last an hour? Without concentration? Meanwhile, outside of the plant manipulation aspect of this cantrip, all of them only last 1 round, outside of the plant one. Harmless sensory effect for weather is alright. It literally is giving you a display like the weatherman displays on the news. Snowflakes, sun, clouds, it really is just the weatherman spell in that regard. Also, funnily enough, they actually cover themselves for in case a spell effect or something else occurs, because it says predicts. It doesn't say tells you, it doesn't say it divines, it says it predicts what the weather is going to be for the next 24 hours. So it still could be wrong, or that's just tying it into the weatherman. This feature feels like a joke in all honesty, because it literally displays, you could just have it change that it tells you what the weather is, or you get a sense for what the weather is, or you become hypersensitive to it. No, it just gives you the symbol. And also that symbol only lasts for 1 round, which, alright. You're just using it to read anyway. The instantly make a flower blossom, a seed pod open, or a leaf bud bloom. There's no time limit on that. There's not saying it decays after or reverts. It also doesn't say how much you can do this to something. So this allows you to manipulate the growing of a plant to an extent. It's not just in blossoming, though it specifically does mention blossoming. It also brings up a point of a seed, or specifically causing a leaf bud to bloom. I've been screwing bud up for a while this recording. Though just to give this spell some leeway, because it's going to need it after we get to some of the lower parts, or comparing it to Prestidigitation. Home rule wise, or I'd suggest, is taking the wording as it allows you to manipulate the growing of plants. Specifically doesn't say it decays either, it just manipulates how it's growing. I say use this, especially since it's a cantrip, to allow for like the weird tree villages or druid homes that are entirely grown. Going for that motif, even though it doesn't strictly say you can do that, it does mention you can help it grow along, so... Look, I'm trying to stretch the sentence in this cantrip out as much as possible. And then I'm not even gonna read off the next one, but the sensory effect one, that's a nature-themed minor illusion. Slightly limited in its options. You can't make the noise of someone calling out, or a word. And I'm not sure if you've been in the woods. There's a lot of sensory things already going on, so you adding this isn't gonna do much. I mean, for thematics wise, yeah, go ahead. The other issue and why I'm comparing it to minor illusion is also it only fits within a 5-foot cube. So you can only really affect 1 creature with this, or you can't take this to a grander extent. And the last one. Instantly light or snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire. Prestidigitation has that as well. So for this, I'm not giving it more flavor. I've already done it. I've tried to stretch out that one feature, the weatherman pun and joke. I just feel bad for Druid with this one. I mean, Druid already gets a bunch of cool spells and features, so, you know, I guess you don't need a good cantrip. It's the fact it's a namesake cantrip, though. It's a Druidcraft. When you think of Druidcraft, you think of crafting or manipulating nature, which is why I'm trying to stretch out that one sentence. Cantrip's more disappointment than anything. 2 out of 10. Because it's a cantrip, you're not using any spell slots or resources to cast it. It's not harmful. The only really big thing against it is even flavor-wise, prestidigitation can cover a lot more and also has some more utility, whereas Druidcraft, you're only picking this up because you're a druid and you want it to match up, because it's your namesake cantrip. But it just, even with it only being a cantrip, it doesn't do anything. It's not that useful. Two out of 10. I feel like I'm gonna get some flack against this one. I mean, you could definitely easily argue for it to go up some ranks because it's a cantrip and doesn't cost anything, but I just see you picking up other cantrips over this. Easy. 2 out of 10.